Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to learn something about for loop. So a for loop is nothing but it is a loop which is used in order to execute a certain set of code n number of times. So let's say you have some code which you want to execute it multiple times. So a for loop comes in handy for this task. Now to understand it better, we are going to take an example. Let's say you have a simple line of code. Let's say you have document dot write, and let's say you want to display some text like hello world. Now you have this line of code which you want to display multiple number of times. So let's say you want to display it twice. So one thing which you could do is simply just copy it and paste it over here. Now if you save the code and execute it, you'll get the statement hello world twice, but the thing is that it is not formatted properly. So in order to format it, I am going to use /br, which is a basic HTML tag which is used to break the line. So this is going to print this on a new line. So if we execute the code, you'll get hello world and another hello world printed on to the bottom of it. So it's fine when you want to execute a set of code twice, you could just copy it and paste it. But let's imagine that you want to print this line of code right here, let's say 10 times. So it would be a very tedious and it would be very inefficient task copying this and just pasting it 10 times. So a more efficient way of executing a set of code n number of times is by using a for loop. So let's go ahead and create the basic syntax for writing a for loop. So to write a for loop, we initially use the keyword for. After the keyword for, we have these parentheses, and after the parentheses we have the opening and the closing curly bracket. So the basic syntax or the basic structure of a for loop is similar to the if statement, but the thing is that in the if statement we had a single parameter that was the condition. Like the if statement had a condition, and if the condition was satisfied, then we went on and executed the code inside the loop. But in case of for loop, we are going to have three conditions. The first condition is the initialization. So the first statement which we are going to write in the parameter section for loop is going to be the initialization. And what that means is that we are going to take a variable and we are going to initialize it to some value. As simple as that. Now we have a second statement in the for loop, and that second statement is nothing but a conditional statement. So in the second part of a for loop, we are going to check for some condition, and if that condition is satisfied, only then the code inside the for loop is going to get executed. And if that condition turns out to be false, we are going to end the for loop and we are going to jump out of the for loop. Now the third condition is a basic operation which we perform in the for loop. So that could be an increment operation or that could be a decrement operation. So we take the variable which we have declared in the first part and we either increment it or we decrement it. Now to get a clear and better understanding of the three statements which we are going to use for loop, we are going to take a simple example. So in the first part we initialize a variable. So let's go ahead and create a variable. Let's name the variable as x and let's initialize it to 0. So this is the first condition or the first statement in the for loop, and in order to end the statement we use a semicolon, and right after it we write the second conditional statement in the for loop which is checking for some condition. Now as we want to execute the code 5 times, we give the condition like x should be less than 5, and the reason of giving x less than 5 is because as we want to execute the code 5 times, so x is going to start from 0 and it will continue on till 4. So basically from 0 to 4 we have 5 iterations. Now once we have the conditional statement in place, we want to give the increment or decrement operation. So in this case, as x varies from 0 to 5, we need to increment x every time we execute the loop. So in order to increment it, we use the basic increment operator by typing x++. So what this code right here is going to do is that it is going to increment x by 1 every time the loop executes. So once we have these things in place, we go inside the for loop and we just type out the code which we want to execute 10 times, or let's say 5 times in this case, as I've given x to be less than 5. So when we paste it, and if you want to make it 10, you just have to replace this 5 by 10. So no big issue in that. So let's say we want to display this code, or we want to execute this code 10 times. So it is going to, x is going to start from 0, and it is going to end, it is going to continue on till 9, and at 10 this condition gets false and the loop exits. So let's save the code and execute it. And as you could see, the hello world statement is printed out 10 times. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So if you didn't understand how the for loop works, please pay close attention. I am going to explain each and every iteration of for loop. So let's say we have only 3 iterations, just for the sake of simplicity. So what happens is that initially in the initialization section, we initialize x to 0. Now the code jumps on over here, and it is going to check the condition that if 0 is less than 3, and the computer finds that this condition is true, and that is because 0 is always less than 3. Now the code jumps here and the value of x is incremented, and now the value of x becomes 1. Now as the condition is satisfied, this code right here gets executed. So we have one hello world printed onto the browser. Now in the next iteration, as the value of x was incremented, now x becomes 1, and this is going to check this statement. Now as 1 is less than 3, this statement is going to get executed, and the program jumps onto this statement, and hence x is incremented by 1 once more. So now the value of x turns out to be 2. Now the program execution comes here, and this line of code right here gets executed one more time. Now in the third iteration, the value of x is 2. So 2 is less than 3, so the condition is true. Now x once again gets incremented by 1. Now x is 3, and the code written here executes once again. Now in the fourth iteration, what happens is that now x is equal to 3 and 3 is not less than 3. So this condition turns out to be false, and finally we exit out of the for loop, and that is because this condition right here is false. So that's how a for loop works in each and every iteration. So if we give a value of 300 over here, it is going to execute the code 300 times. So that's how a for loop works, and I hope you understand the concept of for loop, how it works and where it is used. So if you find any difficulty understanding for loop, just remember that this is the starting point of a variable and this is the ending point of a variable, and you use starting point and ending point in order to repeat this set of statements over here, and you always increment the value of variable by 1 every time the for loop executes. So that's it for this tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.